atrial
Oh, that's great.
one April, not one episode of ventricular tachycardia. So he knew what he was doing.
Yeah, well, between the Lord and some highly skilled medical people, sounds like you're making it.
I am, and I've already outlived my folks as far as chronological.
Yeah. Well,
And I got this particular heart problem I had, or have. It's from my mother's side. And we have a family reunion on the Walker Bay. About 40% of my cousins
oh,
had this.
so really, so the fact that you're even here is,
These are all
that's
the
a
originals.
miracle itself.
Yeah.
Can't keep a good man down, you know. I'm fine, Paul.
I didn't do a claim on this one, but this one needs signed because they paid it already. I'll put it on the November 5th. But we'll do those at another meeting. We got a problem.
We're waiting for one more member.
It's not gonna be George.
It's
Jeff was supposed to be.
Jeff said he was coming.
Jeff.
Girls.
Yeah.
We do. Three. I got three here. That's right.
Jeff Mullins emailed me. He said he's in the middle of harvest, and they were expecting 500 trucks.
Wow.
Did you see the pile out in front of their place?
Huh?
Did you see the pile out in front of their place? They put it on the ground. It was built. They must have dumped it out there.
Michael Stad and Roman.
Because they filled all their bins.
I'm like the Maytag repairman down here.
Sounds like a good.
Well, we do have a quorum, so we'll go ahead
Okay.
with the meeting, and hopefully Jeff will join us, but since we have three members. So, I will call this meeting to order of the Warsaw Redevelopment Commission. I welcome everyone. Thank you for coming. If you would, please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Tradition. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. First item on the agenda for this evening is the approval of the minutes of the previous meeting. That would be the September 24th meeting. You should all have seen a recent copy of that in the board pack.
Thanks, Rich.
No comment.
I make a
Do
motion.
you have any objections, additions, deletions, so forth?
I make a motion we approve as presented.
Rick makes a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
I guess I would have to second that.
Mike seconds. Okay. Further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Motion minutes are approved as presented. Okay. We have no claims tonight, is that correct?
Correct.
Very good, so we'll move on to new business, which is the first item on the new business is the confirming resolution of the Redevelopment Commission, confirming resolution designating and declaring area city of Warsaw as an economic development area to expand the northern district development area and consolidating the northern development area as expanded and the eastern TIF district development area, consolidating the development plans for those areas and regarding certain related matters. Okay, and at this time, I believe we will open a public meeting, the public segment of this. Well, I'd like, yeah, if you will, and Randy, if you would, before we open it up to the public, give some statement on the explanation of this
Sure.
resolution?
So what's before you is a confirming resolution to confirm the prior action you had taken at the meeting in September to adopt the declaratory resolution where you declared, as the title references, an area as an economic development area, and the purpose of that was to expand the existing northern area. And given the location of that expansion area, it became possible to consolidate both the northern area and the eastern area, and thus becomes the consolidated northern economic development area. So with that declaratory resolution, you are including a new area, which are referred to as the Airport Industrial Park area, into the northern area. It'll become, if you act tonight, it'll become an economic development area and also an allocation area for purposes of tax increment. And then by consolidating, you are putting both the northern area and the eastern area together. And so the declaratory resolution also then approved a consolidated plan that Jeremy had prepared, which took components of both the existing plans and just consolidated them. The Plan Commission met later that day and approved the action of the Redevelopment Commission. Its action became the written order of the Plan Commission. That then was subsequently approved by the Common Council at a meeting on September 17th. Following that, UMBA prepared a tax impact statement. We prepared a notice which was published on October 5th, which I will give for the file, approved publication, indicating there would be a hearing today. UMBA filed a tax impact statement as it's supposed to be filed. So today, pending, well, before you consider the resolution for adoption, you would conduct a public hearing, hear from the public, and by acting today, then, if you do adopt the resolution, you would complete the process to designate the new area as well as consolidate the two existing areas. That would allow any redevelopment or economic development projects to proceed. As we've talked before, the most significant project on the docket is the funding of the sewer and road improvements in that area, in that new area. And by doing the action today, that'll allow you to proceed with that. So with that, I'm happy to answer questions about the resolution or the process thus far. If no questions, then the next step would be to hold a public hearing today.
So this resolution before us right now
Yes.
is simply to consolidate all the areas within the northern TIF district, the eastern TIF district, and the newly annexed
In that new area, exactly.
area in the industrial, in the airport industrial park area.
Right. And I should have referenced, I didn't, but, and you did reference it, that new area, the city, through the city council, did annex that territory so that you're able to act today to complete the process to designate it as an economic development area.
So this resolution only involves the TIF district.
Exactly.
And the consolidation of that TIF district, and nothing else outside of that.
Right, you're acting as the Redevelopment Commission just to designate the area as an economic development area, the new area, and consolidate the two existing areas into one area. So as the Redevelopment Commission, that's your authority. And that, as I said, was approved by the Plan Commission as well as the Common Council previously.
Okay. Anybody have any questions for Randy on that explanation?
No, I
And
pretty
I
much
think
fully understand what's going on.
The resolution itself is very self-explanatory.
Right.
Jeff?
I can give you a little bit of background of how we got from point A to point B. Over the last decade or so, we've been trying to look at opportunities to provide the airport, what I refer to as the Airport Industrial Park, municipal services, primarily sanitary sewer. We've had a number of industries out there that, due to the lack of not having sanitary sewer, haven't been able to expand or grow. They haven't been able to treat the sewage that they're producing now, and some of them pump on a weekly or monthly basis. So through their conversations with me, in 2012, we created the Eastern TIF District with the sole purpose of creating a possible revenue stream to get the sanitary sewer across US 30 and provide service to that industrial park. Over the last 6 years, we've worked towards that project and creating those revenues from that Eastern TIF District growth as well as the Northern TIF District to come up with the possible expansion and sanitary sewer project that we're looking to complete now. During last year, 2017, we started the sewer design, and we also started that annexation process. As we went through that process, we refined the design itself of the sanitary sewer and the annexation based on the funds that are available to complete the project, as well as the ability to serve those areas with sanitary sewer. Primarily what we annexed in was those areas that we could sewer through a gravity system that ties into the existing biomet lift station. The biomet lift station is going to roughly have somewhere around $600,000 to $700,000 of reconstruction. We're basically building a new lift station more or less to serve this new gravity system to tie in. So those boundaries, those annexation boundaries were based on our ability to provide gravity sewer to those areas. Once that annexation was refined, we completed that ordinance in January and started the annexation of those areas that would be gravity fed by the sewer system that we've designed and will build over the next year and a half. That's how we've got to this point.
Jeremy, just for clarification for those who may be listening online, what is a lift station? I know, but just...
It's more or less a large container that the gravity flows into, and then a pump pumps it out because you cannot gravity feed from one gravity line to the next. So from an elevation standpoint, where the airport industrial park sits, on a base elevation, we can only gravity so far, and then that lift station will pump to the gravity main that we have on Anchorage Road.
So it lifts it up to the next level so it can, once again, start the journey through gravity feed to the processing
So
plant.
there'll be a force main that will run under US 30 and tie into our gravity line on Anchorage Road that goes directly into the sewage treatment plant.
And you say a lift station runs how much money?
It depends on the pump sizes, the treatment area, and so forth, but in general, you'll have roughly $500,000 into any lift station. The pumps alone are a couple $100,000 just for the pumps.
Okay.
So you've got $200,000 just in pumps, and then you got to build the lift station, then you got the control, the emergency control, the backup generators. All of them have their own backup generator system. So in general, $500,000 is cheap.
Okay.
$750,000 is probably closer.
So volume is the key to being able to justify the cost of a lift station.
Yes.
You've got to have a lot of volume going through there.
You have to have a relatively large service area.
Okay. Just trying to lay some groundwork.
All right.
Thank you.
So, with this project and as designed now, every area can be fed by this gravity?
Every area that is in the annexation will be gravity fed, yes. Every property will have the ability to tie onto the gravity system we're building.
And those all feed into the biomet, the existing biomet lift station?
It'll be in that area. The biomet lift station obviously was designed for their capacity.
The new and improved
The new-
biomet station.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and initially we were going to reutilize the biomet lift station. Through the design, the biomet lift station is literally at its capacity. You can't take one drop more. So we're basically building a new lift station next to the biomet one. We'll take that offline, tie in the new one, and more or less have dual lift, I don't want to say dual lift stations, but dual pumping capacity. We'll actually have two force mains, so that if we ever need to bypass pump to expand or do future repairs, we'll have some ability to do that.
Available, at least available to us.
Yes.
Yep. All right. Anything else you want to ask? Okay, at this point, we'll open it up to the public hearing portion of this, and it will relate to this resolution, and as stated, okay? So it's TIF district. So, sir, you want, please come to the mic and introduce yourself, please.
My name is Paul Raythior. A lot of my friends call me Rafe. I am here representing Country Hills LLC, the Alpine Storage West, and the Kraus Trust. Kraus Body Shop occupies that property. And there, I do realize that this is a situation where my clients feel like it's sort of spitting in the wind, where there's not much opportunity to stop a train that's well in motion. But they decided they wanted to at least have an opportunity to express that they feel like they're now going to end up being taxed significantly more, whereas they don't have any need of the proposed benefits, where they have already invested a great deal into their own services. And the taxes are going to have an impact, for example, on Country Hills, the storage units, in some real practical ways. According to Mr. Ritterman, that he doesn't see that there's going to be any benefit to his property, but he does see that with the increased taxes, the flexibility that he's had to be able to offer free storage to several charities and so forth is going to be eliminated, because his expenses through taxes are going to be increasing. And with Mr. Kraus, and I do realize that annexation has occurred, he's still hurting, feeling that that was an unfair situation, but he believes the unfairness now is going to spill over into unfairly and significantly increasing the taxes in a way that really he's not going to get a benefit. So I put these things into a written remonstrance as was required by the notice, and I really am not going to beat this anymore, because that really is the position that at least that my clients wanted that to be made of record, that they don't believe that they really have an opportunity, and they believe they're going to be in the hole without a way out. So thank you.
Sir?
Yeah.
Just for clarification.
Go ahead.
So you are remonstrating against the annexation?
I'm not remonstrating against consolidating. Whatever makes
Okay.
sense is
I
from
just wanted to clarify.
from that standpoint.
The resolution before us.
The resolution includes creating,
consolidation of.
right, but it also, excuse me, it also includes, as I understand it, establishing this as an area that's now going to kick in the vehicle for taxation.
So it is creating a TIP district, but there's no new taxes with a TIP district. So the base AV, the base that they're paying taxes now, doesn't change. They continue to pay taxes. The TIP district collects that which is new. So if someone were to come into that district and build a new building, that's what the TIP collects. It doesn't collect
That's the
anything
incremental
that's
part of it.
created. And there's no new taxes. It's not like this is a taxi. We're not, this isn't a tax vehicle. This only collects taxes that are generated from new development.
Okay, well, as far as my clients in this resolution, their concern was, as they understood it, that there was going to be the possibility of increased taxes because of the resolution. So that really was the objection.
And
This
there-
resolution does not address that at all.
And if I haven't done a good job, I mean, we can have Randy speak to that a little bit, but in general, the TIF district does not create taxes. The Redevelopment Commission cannot create taxes. The only entity that can create taxes is the City Council and other taxing agencies, of which the Redevelopment Commission is not. So we're not creating taxes. We are collecting taxes that don't exist today. So the base AV has this TIF expansion. All those assessed values would continue to go to the taxing agencies that currently are in those allocation areas. If someone were to come in and build a building, they would pay taxes based on same rate everybody else would pay, but the only difference is instead of that going to those taxing agencies, it goes to the TIF.
So I can report to my clients that I've now been educated that this is neither going to serve to increase their taxes, nor will it open the door for the city council to increase taxes because this resolution has been adopted? Okay.
Yeah,
And-
this,
and
this
so-
resolution has nothing to do with those, the tax rates.
And Randy, if you want to do it more eloquently, feel free to, but.
No, I mean, that's exactly right. The creation of the economic development area and the tax increment allocation area will have no effect on the tax rates themselves. What will happen is the taxes that are, the tax bill that comes to the property owners, the portion that is attributable to the base date, which would be this year, and any increases in assessed value from hereafter, that amount will just accrue to the benefit of the Redevelopment Commission for redevelopment, but it won't affect the amount of taxes that are paid by the property owner, what the Redevelopment Commission is doing today.
Okay, well, but you're also saying that what the redevelopment commission is doing today is not a precursor to the city council then being able to increase taxes that they could not have otherwise?
I mean, the city council, by annexing the property comes inside the city, right?
Well, that has happened, and I understand that.
Right, and so, the city council then, part of its annual budget can, they do what they do as part of their annual budget, but from the redevelopment commission standpoint, all the redevelopment commission is doing today is identifying the area as an area for purposes of being able to fund improvements in the area, and so increases in assessed value in that area, the taxes that are paid because of those increases in assessed value will come to the benefit of the redevelopment commission, but it won't affect the tax rate, if you will. There won't be any new taxes because of what the redevelopment commission is doing. It's when the property owners pay their bills, how the money that, I read a check.
It's an allocation thing.
Exactly, I read a check for $500 to the property owner. Depending upon how much of that $500 goes to the base assessed value and how much of that $500 goes to the increase in assessed value, some portion of that, the increase, say it's $50. Say the $450 goes to the base and the increase in assessed value is $50. The $50 would come to the benefit of the redevelopment commission.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
that's really helpful in my understanding, so I have nothing further.
It's a little bit difficult to understand, but basically, we're setting a base at where the taxes are today, and as new companies come in, new assets come in and are assessed, that incremental amount of additional taxes that we capture are used then for improvements in that area. So now we're consolidating these eastern and northern TIF districts and the airport industrial park area all into one TIF district, and we're consolidating it all, is all we're doing.
Okay, thank
Okay.
you. Oh, one final thing,
Sure.
off topic. If any of you have any influence in moving the Buffalo Street project forward faster, I'd appreciate it.
They're supposed to pave on Wednesday.
What about my drive?
The concrete work will be all through this week and next week. And they'll hopefully be paving on
Good.
Wednesday.
My wife will be happy to hear
We're getting very close.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate your comments.
Any further comments?
Any further, Jerry, any comments? If you would, introduce yourself for the purposes of...
Jerry Irvine.
Welcome, Jerry.
Thank you. This is the first meeting I've been able to be at for, I don't know how long. So many meetings have been while I was out of town for one reason or the other, and since I winter in Florida, I'm leaving in 2 weeks. I wasn't quite sure why I even got a letter to come to this meeting because I've never been to any of the others. So I've just been listening here, interested in things that's been explained because I didn't know about any of this until now. So this is kind of a surprise to me.
Okay.
Aware of the new annexation, obviously, I think Jeremy and I've had several conversations, and I think that's worked out. But I guess the question that I have that you guys probably can't answer, but I've never had a chance to ask it. I don't think I've even asked in our conversations that you mentioned all this expense just for the lift station. Then there's going to be the expense of putting in all the sewer lines too. The expense of the total project, I just started thinking about that. What is the estimated cost for the entire sanitary sewer project for the whole area out there? And then the second part of that question is, the city obviously doesn't have the cash funds to do that. Where's that money coming from?
Good question.
If we can answer that.
Yes, we can.
I've never heard, so I don't know.
So,
Right now, the estimated project is roughly $7 million for all the infrastructure, which includes the new lift station, all the pipe, and then there will be some road improvements done as the pipe's going to run down the middle of those roads. The funds for this is coming from a bond issue that hopefully we'll issue in the next 3 weeks. That will be paid back by the revenue generated from this TIF district. So it's a TIF bond. What the intent is that we will build the infrastructure and the improvements, the companies that come in and expand and build new, that revenue will then go back and be used to pay off these bonds.
So you're anticipating all that new construction is going to generate that much new revenue to pay for the project?
I'm anticipating it will generate probably 4 or 5 times that.
yes.
Our northern TIF district started out, so same kind of process. We started out and it had a base AV of around 6 million. Today it has an AV of around 130 million. Started out generating roughly $200,000 a year. Now it generates close to $2.8 million a year. So the industrial growth that we foresee coming from the development opportunities we create, we do feel will pay for the improvements that we're doing.
Okay, like I said, I've been unavailable for meetings, and some of this is brand-new information for me.
Sure.
So has what you just said been well communicated to everybody that I just haven't been around to know about it?
Yeah, so yes, we
Okay.
sent out a lot of
Because
notifications.
admittedly, I've been gone a lot.
Yeah, we've had the press here at every meeting, and we've tried to get them to publicize that
To
type
see,
of information.
all that hasn't fed to me, so and that's my fault.
No, that's okay. But you asked some good questions, and just to give you, a little different explanation, if you will, if you have a TIF district that has a base tax base, and then you bring in more outside development, that incremental amount of tax, we hold back for this type of project.
Okay.
And then we use those funds to, for improvements or replacement of water, sewage, and road work.
Streets,
primarily.
sidewalks, lighting.
Yeah, lighting. So all those things,
Curbs.
we don't want to raise tax, but that's why we use the TIF district, the TIF area, as a means to do these improvements in these areas.
I might add too, I just want to be clear, it's not a new tax, it's just the new assessed value. So people build things,
Right.
it gets assessed, it's that new assessed value, and it's the tax rate that everybody else is paying being applied to the new assessed value, generating more money.
A lot of taxes that don't exist today.
Right.
Yes, yeah. So,
Well, I'm sorry to take up your time. I had asked a couple other people these similar questions that I thought knew a lot of things that was going on around town. They didn't have a clue about the stuff that you just told me.
Well, as
So
you can
that's
see from
kind of
our
why I asked the question,
I
so.
wish they were as willing to learn as you apparently are.
Well, I learned now and leave in 2 weeks, so I,
If I might add too, I mean, the Redevelopment Commission, the Redevelopment Authority, and the City Council have all taken actions with respect to the financing. And so some of these same explanations we went through in those meetings as well. I would say too, you got a letter because of the way the statute is written, when we do an expansion of an area, it is required that the property owners in the expansion area do get a letter informing them of the the possibility that the commission may act to create the new area. So that's why you received the letter.
I don't have business there anymore, but I still own the property.
Okay.
So obviously it
Yeah, that's
affects
why you
me
wrote a
and
letter.
my
The
tenant.
property value probably just went up.
Actually, that's an interesting point that you just made, because I've asked several people in the, shall we say, the real estate industry. And as a matter of fact, on my property, I said probably increase no value at all, and because of the way my property is set up, might even lower the value some. So that's, I'm one of the rarities.
Time will tell.
I'm one of the rarities. I understand that. And so I, as a single individual, can't stand in the road of progress for everybody else, even though it doesn't really, it's not really going to benefit me. So I guess the only other thing, I don't think you guys can answer either. Maybe you can. I just got a bill this week for storm sewer. We don't have storm sewers. Probably won't have. We don't need them out there. I'm already paying a ditch assessment because of the natural drainage. Now, all of a sudden, I got a monthly storm sewage charge on top of the ditch assessment, and there's not even storm drains there. So I'm paying for something that doesn't exist, probably won't exist. I don't know why.
The storm, so as part of our wastewater fee, we have a storm fee. Because any stormwater you're generating, if you're in the city, you're generating stormwater, and it's going through some form of storm infrastructure, whether it be swales, culverts, or curb and gutter with storms and pipes to get from point A to point B, which the city is responsible for maintaining. So we're responsible for maintaining those swales now that you're annexed in, and any storm issues that you have, or that those areas have, and that's what that fee's for. So even though you don't have a pipe in the catch basin yet, you may have in the future, but you still have swells and you still have culverts that need repaired and replaced, and that's what that. The ditch assessment fees are different. The ditch assessments are based on regulated county drain, legal drains. That's what you're paying for. So there is a legal drain out there, and that's not, I'm not gonna play expert on this. Whoever drains into that, and it could be, 5 square miles that drains in, everybody pays that ditch assessment fee. So it's
I don't even know where the ditch is at.
Hickman ditch, I think.
I don't even know where it's at, yeah.
Hickman Meyer or something like that ditch, It's north of your property.
Jerry,
Yes,
but the redevelopment commission has nothing to do with that.
I understand that.
Okay,
And that's, but
yeah.
But
I know you don't, but I'm getting answers that I haven't had before, and I appreciate them.
Yeah, okay.
So I thank you for
appreciate-
your time to answer some questions that I didn't know where else to get the answers.
We appreciate you coming in.
Yeah,
So,
good to see you again.
yeah, even though it's brief. It's getting too cold here for me. I'm sorry. I'm heading
It's
south.
all right.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah, thanks for your questions. And while we got it open, you're welcome. If you would introduce yourself.
Ann Zidek at the Warsaw Library. We just got one of these notices because being a government
Can you
unit.
speak up, please?
Oh, sorry. From the library, Warsaw Community Public Library. And I just wanted to say that I'm glad I came. I was able to understand a little bit more where this area was. I didn't have the time to go over and check the plans. So for me, it's like I'm always making sure, is it something that is truly not going to have an impact on the funding for the library? Sounds like it's okay. Okay, so.
And I you should have gotten 2 notices. You got another notice for November 5th meeting.
Yes, there is another one.
Yeah, so feel free to come to that too, but a lot of that meeting will kind of, I'm hoping, and this is just me because I'm the one putting the presentation together to present, but I'm hoping that meeting will be kind of an explanation of TIF districts, how their increments are captured, what the impact on taxing agencies are.
Okay.
So that'll kind of give you an idea, so every time you see one of these, you'll kind of be able to say, I understand what's happening and what the potential impact is, if any. So that meeting's on November 5th, but,
Basically, what I understand is that as long as all the units, the government units, we don't have our budgets increase, they basically had a window view of, and that it would have no negative impact. Would that be correct?
yeah.
Not from the TIF areas.
Okay.
But,
No.
but assessed values, it's not even that simple, because assessed values across the city are going to increase. So even though your budget may not increase, your rate may go down. If your budget doesn't increase and the AV increases across the city, your rate goes down.
Right, right.
If your budget increases and the AV increases, it could still stay somewhat
Right, so
neutral. I
there's
mean,
all
it's a
that.
gain more or less, but the TIF district itself doesn't necessarily impact that, those existing base rates and rates.
Your explanation was right on for helping me to understand how the TIF fits into that, so thank you very much.
I'm hoping the
Yeah.
November one, because all the taxing agencies were invited to the November 5th
Okay.
meeting. I'm hoping that would be a little bit more in-depth explanation of that.
Okay, that's what I.
Very good. Thank you, Ed. Anyone else? Hearing none, we will now close the public portion of this meeting. I'll now call for the vote on, if there's no more discussion amongst the members, we'll call for the vote. Do we have a resolution number assigned to this?
181001.
Resolution 18-1001. 2018-1001. Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
I will second.
Rick motion to approve and Mike seconds. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. So that's the approval of that one.
What's the number?
2018-10-01. And this next one will be 02-02. Okay. Very good. Thank you, everyone, for that. We'll move on to the next resolution, and the second resolution is 2018-10-02. And that, this one is for extending the pledge of tax increment revenues from Consolidated Northern Economic District area to pay the principal and interest of the sewage works revenue bonds. Okay? Randy?
Yes, so
Would you like
what this resolution is doing, back in 2005, the Redevelopment Commission pledged $600,000 a year from the Northern Economic Development Area to pay for a portion then of what was the 2005 lease bonds for the sewage works, and there was a 2003 bond issue as well. So you were agreeing to use $600,000 of TIF revenues to help pay for those projects that were financed with sewage works revenue bonds. The balance of those bond issues in that lease are payable from the sewage works rates. But because obviously the sewage works pays for or treats all of the sewage from all over the city, a portion of the TIF revenues can be used for those improvements because they support and benefit the area. Both of those bond issues, the 2003s were refunded in 2013. The lease was again refunded in 2015. So there's a 2015 bond and a 2013 bond outstanding. The city is currently pursuing through the SRF a new financing, what would be the 2018 bonds, to build the new or expand the treatment plant. And so the idea is that the TIF revenues can be extended for at least an additional 6 years beyond the life of the 2015 bonds and the 2013 bonds. So what you would be doing in this resolution is simply extending the pledge, because if you do nothing today, the pledge of the TIF revenues will expire with the paying off of the 2015 bonds and the 2013 bonds, which I think is in year 2023. And so by
So in
acting-
5 years,
Pardon?
in 5 years.
Right. And so I think, so what you're doing, what you would do today by adopting this resolution is extending that pledge for an additional 6 years through 2029 to help pay the debt service on the new 2018 bonds. And the reason we're extending the pledge for only 6 years, in 2029, that is when much of the old North TIF area will expire. The existing TIF area, the northern TIF area, a lot of those provisions that provision will expire. A lot of that territory will no longer be subject to the TIF calculation. And so that's why it's only extended for 6 years. Certainly in 2029 or sometime after that, if in fact the new area expands the way we anticipate it will, the Redevelopment Commission at that point may look at it and say we continue to have $600,000 a year that we can continue to pay. But from a conservative standpoint, what you're doing or would do today is simply extend that pledge where you know you have the TIF revenue coming in from the existing area. So you would extend it for the life of that existing TIF to help pay for the 2018 bonds as well.
Would the amount being paid on the bond from the, would it remain constant? Would it remain level? It's not going to double up for those 5 years where it's overlapping, is it?
No. What
It's
you're
just going to
doing
remain
is
level?
You're pledging $600,000 a year until the existing debt is paid off. The $600,000 a year will be applied to the existing debt. When
Okay.
that's paid off, then the $600,000 a year will just pay on the new debt.
Okay.
So it'll be just one $600,000 a year pledge that you would be making. You're not doubling up.
Okay, just want to be clear.
Right. And I would say too, I mean, the folks at UMBA looked at this in the context of the debt that's outstanding from the redevelopment side plus the new debt that's being anticipated, and they're confident that from a coverage standpoint, you'll continue to have sufficient revenues to be able to pay all of your existing debt as well as continue the $600,000 pledge to the sewage works. And of course, the benefit of doing this, paying that $600,000 a year and extending it, it helps ameliorate the increase in the sewage works rate increase that the council will be considering in November to help pay for that new project. So, happy to answer any questions.
I think that's really an important point that people probably don't know or overlook, that the rate that homeowners and dwelling units are going to be paying really is being subsidized by new revenue being generated in these TIF areas that we're creating opportunity in.
Right.
And people need to know that.
The economic development generated, hopefully in part by the TIF area, is helping to reduce that, right?
Yeah, they're being subsidized basically. It's helping them.
And does this help reduce the interest rate on the bonds themselves when they're issued?
It won't help reduce the interest rate, but it'll help pay the interest. It'll help pay the interest expense, right? So the sewage works rate increase will be incrementally less because you'll be able to use the sewage works and count on that $600,000 a year.
Maybe what you were meaning to ask, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but when you said that, I was thinking maybe it gives us a more favorable rate, the buyers knowing that there is a steady income stream, there's not any chance of default because this income stream is pledged. And so will we maybe be looked upon more favorably with a little lower interest rate?
It may be. I will say, though, for this upcoming bond issue, the bonds are anticipated to be sold to the state revolving fund, which provides a subsidized rate, if you will. The rate is actually below market at this point.
But only a portion.
Right, and that's because of the size of the project. So that 25 million is the program limit. So $25 million will have that state subsidized rate. The balance of the financing costs for that new plant will be paid for. It'll be still an SRF loan, but the SRF is selling bonds out into the market. There are a number of issuers like the City of Warsaw and they have projects that are greater than what the program limits are for the SRF. issue, and they sell that out into the market. That bond issue will be sold at a lower rate than what the city of Warsaw could sell simply because of the size. The market likes the $100 million bond issue versus what would be a $7 or $8 million bond issue from the city of Warsaw. So even that'll be at a slightly lesser rate. And I saw an email from the SRF that came to UMBA, and I think UMBA shared with the mayor and some of the sewage works folks that the SRF is, that market bond was sold, I think, this past week. The rate was a little bit higher than they were anticipating, only because the market has been unstable lately. And so I think the SRF is willing to help subsidize that even further on that market bond. So there is some benefit coming from the state as well on that. But to get back, the $600,000 a year does, you're right, does provide some comfort because it is beyond the sewage works rate itself. So there is some comfort there that from a bondholder's perspective, they'll know that they have the sewage works, the TIF, and I didn't mention, it's also anticipated that the TIF, I'm sorry, what used to be EDIT or CETA, the Economic Development Income Tax, that pledge will be extended as well. At the same time the TIF was pledged back in 2005, the mayor, through the statute then required the mayor to adopt a capital improvement plan, and a portion of the then EDIT revenue was pledged as well. The EDIT statute's gone away, it's now called the Economic Development portion of the local income tax. But the intent is that the mayor will continue that pledge of EDIT as well. So that going forward, the TIF will be pledged for the additional 6 years, and the local income tax, the economic development portion of local income tax, will be pledged for the additional 6 years as well. So going forward, there still will be that sort of three pieces. Most of it will come from the sewage rate, but there will be a little bit of TIF and a little bit of the local income tax as well that will help pay for that new bond issue once the old debt is paid off, that 2015 and 2013 bond. Because currently both 2018 bond.
Okay, thank you.
Very good. I get it now. Thank you.
All right.
So you need a motion?
Yes.
I will make a motion for, is it a resolution?
It actually is a resolution.
2018-10-02?
Correct. You're making a motion to
Pass it.
approve?
Yeah, move it forward.
Second.
We have a motion and a second by Rick. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Resolution is approved.
Randy, thank you.
Oh, thank you very much. All right, back to our.
If I may, just,
No, your time's up.
I mean, just in terms of the financing, Jeremy referenced that we are looking to sell bonds in the next 3 weeks or so.
Yep.
And so we would look to close, I think, in early December. There would be no further action. You all took action on the bonds and the lease earlier, so there's no formal action required. But at some point, I will come at Jeremy in November needing to get documents signed for the closing of the bonds, which I think is presently scheduled for December 5th. So we'll try to get them done in advance of Thanksgiving so we can get them out to you, get them to Jeremy, and he can have you come in and sign documents.
And we don't need a second reading on any of these, do we?
No,
Okay.
you don't actually need a formal meeting. It's just a function of getting the documents to Jeremy and just having you
Getting all the
sign.
signatures.
So as long as you tell me you're not going to Europe for 2 months or something,
What-
if you
what-
are, I'm happy to come.
You come
Okay.
get the signature.
What effect now, based on what Paul was talking about?
No.
How is that gonna have an effect on whether we can do this in November?
If it-
Huh?
We'll talk about that.
Yeah, there won't,
Okay.
there should not be an effect.
No. I would guess so. Okay. We'll discuss that. Okay, so, we should not have to address this, any of those bond issues for the next couple of meetings.
because you took all of the public action.
Right.
It's just a
Right.
function of getting documents signed.
Okay, very good. No, I will make myself available when you're ready for signatures. Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Randy. Appreciate that. I think, is there any other business come before this group tonight?
November 5th, we'll do our little presentation with tax impact, so.
That's our regular scheduled
Notices.
meeting.
It is our regular scheduled meeting, notices went out. And I sent you the report, I'm gonna send you a presentation once I have it finalized in the next week or so. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to call or email.
Okay, very good. Anything else?
Move we adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Second. In favor, say aye. Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you very much, everyone. Okay.